This Xbox problem just won't go away. What's up, guys, and welcome to Xbox Ready, my YouTube channel that is all about Xbox. I talk the latest Xbox news, rumors, games. I talk about pretty much whatever I want to talk about as long as it's related to Xbox in some way. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of things, but the main one being a nagging issue that Xbox can't seem to shake. This video is brought to you by Magic Spoon. When I was a kid, I loved cereal. It was like a running joke in my family. For better or for worse, that was my thing. But now I'm in my 30s, I'm all grown up, and I need a grown-up cereal. That's where Magic Spoon comes in. They aim to provide you with a wholesome, high-protein, keto-friendly cereal. They have a variety of flavors that are reminiscent of the ones you loved back in the day, like frosted, fruity, peanut butter, and cocoa. It's also gluten-free, wheat-free, soy-free, grain-free, so it can fit into your diet pretty much no matter who you are. Each serving has zero grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, so it can get you energized to start your day, and only about 4 to 5 net carbs per serving. I'm a big breakfast guy. I believe that breakfast can really kickstart your day, and lately I've been kickstarting my day with a bowl of peanut butter Magic Spoon and a banana. If you're like me and you're in the market for a grown-up cereal, a serious cereal that does not skimp on the flavor, you can go to magicspoon.com/xboxready for $5 off of your purchase of the variety pack, or you can click this link below. Thanks again to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. You see, there's a weird situation that Xbox fans have continuously had to deal with over the past couple of years, where third-party publishers will just randomly skip the Xbox platform entirely. This could be due to a couple of reasons: games being tied up in timed exclusivity deals for PlayStation. It is rumored that one of the big reasons why Xbox bought Bethesda in the first place was that they heard PlayStation was trying to tie up Starfield in a timed exclusivity deal. Money had it, so it didn't come to Xbox for at least a year. And when they heard about that, they were like, nah man, that ain't happening. We're just gonna buy the whole publisher. But other times it's not so straightforward. There are a lot of Square Enix published titles, for example, that aren't exclusive or timed exclusives, but still don't come to Xbox anyway. There are times when games become accidental exclusives, like with Baldur's Gate 3. That's an example of a time where a third-party publisher was having trouble getting their game to run on the Xbox Series S, therefore they couldn't ship for Xbox at all, which is something that we're sort of seeing again, maybe allegedly with Black Myth: Wukong. For years, the Persona franchise was not available on Xbox. Of course, that all changed a couple of years back, and we've even gotten Persona games on Game Pass. But despite Xbox's continued efforts with third-party publishers to get their games on the Xbox platform, including Atlus's upcoming Metaphor, we are still, as fans, running into the issue of publishers skipping over the Xbox platform. Like the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, it's coming to PlayStation, it's coming to Switch, and it's coming to Steam, but not Xbox. And we know in this case it's not a performance thing because it's coming to the PS4 and Switch. And while this isn't the end of the world to me, I like this game back in the day, or like the old school Marvel vs. Capcom games, but I'm not like dying to play it again. I'm not really much of a fighting game guy anymore. It's still kind of annoying as an Xbox fan, and it raises a lot of questions. I might be an outlier on that front because, well, since I started filming this video, I've noticed that a bunch of media publications have picked up this story. Oh, no Marvel vs. Capcom on Xbox. People are skipping Xbox. People are outraged. Y'all know I'm not really on Twitter like that, but I fired up Twitter once again. And I'm seeing that there's more than a few people that are upset with this decision to skip Xbox. And while I try not to put too much stock into social media reactions, or at least assume that they're indicative of how the entire fan base feels, it's still not a situation that Xbox wants to put any of their fans in. And sure, yeah, I can go and play it on another platform if I really want to, but I also have this really awesome arcade stick that I like to use with fighters and side-scroll and beat-em-ups, and it would have been really awesome to use that with this Marvel vs. Capcom collection. I think this account really brings up a good point. It just says, since the birth of Xbox, every Marvel vs. Capcom game has been released on Xbox. I think Xbox deserves Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. Their decision to exclude Xbox makes no sense at all. It's also really interesting to see this stuff being talked about because, well, we're only like 1 or 2 weeks removed from the Xbox showcase, and at that time, everyone was coming out saying, oh my gosh, Xbox really killed this showcase. They're doing awesome. It was the best show that we've seen in years. It was an insane amount of positive press that Xbox hasn't seen in a long time. But with Capcom randomly deciding to skip Xbox with this game, the pendulum has swung back to the negative side. I just thought that was interesting how quickly that can happen in this industry. Well, we live in this world where Xbox is perfectly willing to port their games over to other platforms like PlayStation 5, like the Switch, like PC. But time and time again, publishers are like, nah, we don't have to ship our game onto Xbox. It doesn't matter if our other games from the franchise have been on Xbox before, like Monster Hunter Stories, that's not going to be on Xbox. Gundam Breaker 4, not going to be on Xbox. And while none of these games I feel like are backbreaking for Xbox to miss out on, it's a trend that I'm beginning to get a little worried about, because not too long ago we were hearing reports that publishers were kind of debating whether or not it was worth it to ship their game onto Xbox at all. I totally believe that there are some publishers, some developers who are like, I don't really think it's worth it to put my game onto Xbox. And honestly, this could not be worse timing for Xbox. We've seen them make gains with their relationship with Atlus, their relationship with Square Enix. Square Enix even went so far as to be a part of the Developer Direct earlier this year that Xbox had. Xbox has a great relationship with Sega. They've been building these relationships with third-party publishers, especially Japanese-based publishers, but I guess they still have work to do with the relationship with Capcom. Jaw Muncher on Twitter says that he's starting to believe the MT framework for Xbox One theory is dead, and it would explain why all of these Capcom games have skipped the Xbox platform. Games like Great Ace Attorney, Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2, Mega Man Battle Network, and Marvel vs. Capcom Collection. Now, for those of you who don't know, what he's referring to is the engine that runs the game, kind of like how the newer Resident Evil games run on the Resident Evil engine. Overall, no matter what the reason is, it's still kind of a shitty situation if you're an Xbox fan. I don't think anyone's gonna go out and sell their Xbox over not being able to play the classic Marvel vs. Capcom games, but Xbox needs to be careful going forward. They had a lot of really cool third-party partners this past showcase, and I see that they're putting in the work with publishers that previously skipped over Xbox, like Atlus, like Square Enix. We can live as Xbox fans without these, like, remastered collections, these smaller games, as long as it doesn't get to the point, whether it's because of timed exclusives, whether it's because of optimization issues, whether it's because of outdated engines not being supported anymore. They can't let it get to the point where a bigger game, like, I don't know, the next Grand Theft Auto would skip over Xbox. That would be disastrous. Speaking of things that Xbox needs to keep an eye on, or they need to figure out, apparently they need to take a second look at mods and creations on Starfield, because people are pissed. I mean, people are always pissed, but people specifically are pissed at Bethesda right now. After the Xbox showcase, they added creations into Starfield, which essentially enabled mods and other content to be added, both created by Bethesda and also by the player base. So far, people have been doing really cool stuff, like adding a bunch of Star Wars things to the game. There's even a modder that got 120 FPS on the Series S version. And as part of this whole thing, they also added in the Trackers Alliance faction, which is a Bethesda-made, backed creation, or Bethesda-endorsed. And they were like, yeah, we'll have even more stuff with this faction. There's going to be more missions through these guys as the years go on. The only problem is that the second mission for this Trackers Alliance, it's called the Vulture, it costs 700 credits in order to have access to, which in reality is like $7, which in reality is $10, because you can't just buy $7 to these games. It's got to be in even increments. This in turn made the Steam reviews for this game plummet. Everyone was shitting on Starfield and Bethesda. They were like, you're ruining the modding scene. This is the exact opposite of what we want. It is not helping the case of like, well, modders can make a better Bethesda game than Bethesda themselves. But in reality, it's a tricky situation, at least in my opinion. Everyone expects mods to be free. We want all of this crazy content, new outfits, new areas, new maps, performance fixes, all sorts of stuff. And well, we don't really want to pay for it. That's just the way the modding community is. But the reality is that it takes a lot of time to frickin' make these mods, to continue supporting them. If I was a modder and I was doing all that work, I would like to be compensated for it. I would like people to pay me for my work. But $7 for a single mission, that is way too steep. If it was me, I would work it out to be like, hey, if you like this mission, if you liked my work, consider donating. It's not required, but it really helps me out. The backlash was so severe that Todd Howard actually acknowledged it and said that they were gonna look into it and fix it in an interview he just did with Mr. Maddie plays. First of all, if you haven't watched that interview yet, do so. It is really awesome. And Maddie's Shadow of the Erdtree preview has me really excited to jump into the DLC. Or not the DLC, a full new game, as he calls it. Todd Howard said, "We're always trying to be kind of looking at what else is out there, really making sure we're giving value to everybody. And where we're not, hey, you know, we definitely will adjust." Todd Howard said that the intention was that they were going to go the extra mile by adding the Trackers Alliance outfit and weapon in a quest, the idea presumably being that it would be more interesting than simply throwing some new cosmetics and hardware into the game. But what happened instead was that players got the impression they were chopping up a faction and selling it for 700 credits at a time. And that's not what we want at all. He continues, "We hear the feedback. We need to evaluate both pricing, what we put out for free, how we communicate what's in something, and really hear from the community there. This may be a case where the internet successfully bullied someone into doing something cool, but at the same time, even though a bunch of people are pissed off, it seems that a lot of people are paying to play this Vulture mission through creations. It says that it surpassed like over 1 million plays. So I'm also worried that they're like, yeah, we pissed a lot of people off, but we did make $7 million off of this. But hey, a guy can dream. Hopefully they learned something. I haven't really jumped into Starfield in a long time. I haven't jumped into any of the creation stuff. So all this was kind of news to me. I was very surprised to see it because last time I did a video, I was talking about like, hey, here's what's coming to Starfield. Here are the updates and blah, da, 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 da. And then I open up the internet the next day and I'm like, whoa, people are super pissed off. At the end of the day, no matter how I feel about Starfield, it's good to see that they are still supporting it. And according to Todd Howard, Bethesda, Xbox, they're supporting it because a bunch of people continue to play it. A bunch of people have logged an insane amount of playtime into this game, and they want to keep supporting it for those diehard fans. Another thing that Todd mentioned in that interview was that they weren't going to remake any of the original Fallout games. Specifically, the Fallout games that were made by Black Isle Studios before Bethesda took over the franchise, Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and Fallout Tactics. He says a main priority for us is to make sure they're all available and you can still play them on PC and making sure that they run okay. As far as beyond that, we've talked about it, but our priorities in terms of, hey, let's go to work and make certain things work, they haven't been in those areas. So again, the priority is, can people still load it up and play? He says, I do think we want the games to load up and run well. The rest of it, I could argue that some of the charm of the games from that era and the original Fallout is a little bit of that age. I would never want to sort of paste over some of that with, well, we changed how this works so it's more modern. So as fans, it's looking like we're not going to be getting any remakes of those original Fallout games. I'm not entirely sure if that's the best decision. We've seen, for example, Sony make a ton of money by remaking games that are not nearly as old as those original Fallout games. Yes, I get wanting to preserve the experience and wanting to experience as it was back then, whatever. But with Fallout Star Rising, I feel like they're missing out on a really big opportunity. But on the other end, if that took away time and resources from making a new Fallout game, then I wouldn't want any of that remade, remastered crap. Bethesda just doesn't seem to care about remasters or remakes at all. In these leaks we got last year, apparently they were working on an Oblivion remaster, which I would absolutely love, but we haven't heard any further details about that, so I assume that they've just kind of moved on. They'll port Skyrim to like every freaking device and their mother, but they won't remaster Morrowind. I guess as long as they're putting in that time and that money towards making, I don't know, the Elder Scrolls 6, which by the way, that teaser turned 6 years old recently, or a new Fallout, then I guess I could be happy. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you enjoyed this video, if you made it this far, if you like Xbox stuff, if you like hanging out with me, consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.